Hello, welcome back. Today I woke up early at about 7:15 minutes, 15 minutes past 7 o'clock, 7:15, to be here with you today. I thought I would record nice and early, a lovely way to say early, and this is a positive thing. Nice and early to be able to concentrate, not have any noise around me. I live in a place where lots of houses are being built around me, so it tends to be quite noisy during the week. So here I am today on a Sunday, super early, it's not even 8 o'clock yet, to be talking to you. And today I want to talk to you about something that I never spoke about before, and it's something that dates back to the 16th and 17th century. Whoa, hold on, we need to talk about this. But first of all, let's just have a sip of water. Hello. All right. So, when we say something dates back to this time, I'm pretty much just saying it's from this time. So it's a while ago. In this case, it's a long time ago, and it's from that particular time. So something that dates back to the 16th and 17th century. Can you imagine? So at the moment we are in the 21st century, okay? I want to talk to you about Shakespearean English. So the first thing I want to say is that you guys know that I studied English literature with creative writing in London at University of Westminster. And there was, I think it was my second year, when I could choose to study Shakespeare or not. So there was a particular point where Shakespeare was optional. And I have to tell you, I opted out. This means I said no thank you. I want to study something else. I opted out. Thinking about this now, I kind of regret this. I regret this a bit, more or less regret this. Because I think although the language from Shakespeare is not something that we need nowadays in most situations, I think it is a brilliant challenge for your brain as a non-native speaker like myself, to be putting yourself through these situations where you're kind of forced to think outside the box a little bit. When we think about Shakespeare English, we are mostly thinking about the English that was very similar in terms of language to one of the first translations of the Bible in English. And when you look at the language in the King James's Bible, it is very similar to Shakespeare. So there are some key words, like specific words that are used often and repeatedly, that when you understand, you are more likely to understand at least what the passage in the Bible is about, or the chunk in Shakespeare is about, if you're reading a play or a sonnet or something from Shakespeare. I have a small list here of some of these words that I thought could be beneficial to you, that would help you learn, okay? So, for example, oh yeah, I forgot to say this actually. I wanted to tell you guys something. So by the end of the second year at college, so I went to college first. In England, you go to college first for 2 years, and then I went to university. So when I was at college, I studied performing arts, and we had to perform The Tempest, which is a play by Shakespeare. And it was my worst nightmare, because I remember not understanding what the whole thing was about. I have not read The Tempest again, but I should probably. But I remember not knowing what the play was about, and still to this day I am unable to tell you what the play is about. You know, I don't really know. But I remember before we started rehearsing for the play, before we started to get on stage and everyone to act things out, we were supposed to sit in a circle, all of us together, and read the play out loud in front of people. So this, just to give you some perspective, this is when I had been in England for 1 year. So my English was still poor. You know, it was nowhere near the English I have today. Nowhere near. Nowhere near, you know, in terms of listening and speaking, both. So we had to read chunks aloud, and I remember really struggling to read it. Like, really struggling to read it. And when everyone started to act this out on stage, and I started to watch those people, English people, acting it out and having so much connection and being able to portray a lot of feelings through those lines, I started to understand that maybe there was something quite powerful about this, and something quite fascinating about the fact that it's language that we don't fully understand, but carry a lot of feeling and power behind them. So I think this is something as well for us to think about. All right, so my short list of words that I think you guys need to know in order to be able to familiarize yourself with Shakespeare and familiarize yourself with the King James's Bible, which is the old version of the Bible translated into English, which is the Bible that lots of people still have. So when you're trying to say you, which is a word you're going to see often in the Bible and Shakespeare as well, there are two different ways to say it. So you've got thee and you've got thou. So there is a grammatical difference between them, but both mean you. And then art, which means are, and then thine, which means your or yours. There's hath, which is have, and hither, which is here, doth, which is does. And the last one on my list is oft. I believe that's how you say oft, which is often. So, you know, this is just a short little tiny list for you guys to get your head around it, you know, because when you do, it becomes a little easier. Now, when it comes to the Bible, this video was actually a special request from a dear follower of mine, Robson. Robson, thank you for requesting this video. It is interesting to talk about this subject. But I want to say something to all of you who like to read the Bible and who are trying to get into reading the Bible in English. We have a lovely modern version of the Bible. So it is written in contemporary language, which is much more accessible to everyone. And I'm not even talking about non-native speakers here. I'm talking about everyone, you know, native speakers of English. So the name of this Bible, in case you don't know, is The Message. So you can buy this version of the Bible, which gives you a much easier translation of the Bible, so you can really understand what is being said. If you love this kind of, you know, 16th, 17th century English, and you want to read the King James's Bible, or even the Bibles that existed before this translation, it's not a problem, go ahead. But know that you're going to be having to do a really dense kind of work to be able to really understand what is being said in the passages. There's something really great about reading the Bible, which is we start to understand expressions that we use in English today, so things that are still embedded in the English that we all use. Expressions that came from the Bible and that some have been changed just a little so that we can all use them, and others are still practically the same. So expressions like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. This comes from the Bible. So the meaning of this expression is something like, we have to have the right sort of consequence for what happens in life. You know, if you do something bad, you're supposed to have some sort of punishment for it. If you don't, then you're not supposed to have it. So it's basically related to fairness. There's this one that I love and I use a lot, which is to put words in someone's mouth. So, you know, when sometimes I post things on Instagram, especially Instagram, not so much here, but I post things there, and then people come to me telling me, you know, Patricia, how dare you say that? I'm like, whoa, you're putting words in my mouth. That's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. And we say that in Portuguese as well. If you're Brazilian, you will know what I mean. What else have I got here? Oh, this one is, you know, so simple, something that we live by. I mean, we should, really. There's a time for everything. There's a time for everything. This is from the Bible originally, so it might have been written in a slightly different way, but the idea of this originated back, you know, back in the day with the Bible. And this last one as well, which is to throw the first stone. Again, we use this in Portuguese. A very easy way to understand this, if you're not Brazilian and you don't use this in your language, is when the person criticizes someone. So they throw the first stone, meaning, you know, I am going to criticize this without thinking, without analyzing, without even considering whether or not I have done this myself or I would do this myself. So when it comes to parenting, this happens often, you know, like we see a situation in front of us that we don't agree with between a parent and a child, and we're, you know, the one to throw the first stone, we're the one to criticize first without thinking. Maybe this is kind of what happens with most families, you know, to some degree. Yeah, but I really hope this video has been helpful, and I wanted to tell you, don't make anything inaccessible to you as a learner. So reading Shakespeare gets easier the more you read it. There are lots of things you can read online, reliable sources to help you understand the meaning behind each story. When you know the meaning behind the story and then you read the story, it's a lot easier for you to get your head around this. Same with the Bible. So it makes you feel good, read it. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Worry about the feeling you're having from this passage, the feeling you're having from this play. And remember that putting ourselves through specific small challenges can be extremely beneficial to our learning. All right, great. Thank you so much for being here today. See you all next week. Bye.